Welcome back, you curious people. Today we're going to be discussing the rollback argument against free will, which was popularized in the year 2000 by a certain philosopher, Peter van Inwagen. So the rollback argument is a thought experiment kind of an argument against free will. I'll run through Van Inwagen's precise argument later. Let me just go through a crude derived version of the argument first, not exactly Van Inwagen's precise argument. So the crude version of the rollback argument goes like this. Imagine a situation where you have the ability to make a choice, say truth or lie. Now imagine that you could roll back the universe, rewind time back to a moment just before you make that choice. If you're in the exact same situation with all the same thoughts, all the same feelings, environmental influences, external factors, upbringing, genes, brain and neurons and all the atoms and quarks and leptons being the same, would you always be making the same choice? If so, it implies determinism and you don't have the ability to do otherwise, which implies no free will. Given all the conditions are the same, if you could make a different choice, it implies indeterminism or randomness, not free will. Conclusion, free will doesn't exist. Suppose someone commits a crime, commits a murder or theft or cheats you. And suppose you were to trade places with that person, and suppose your entire life history is the same. The genes, the neurophysiology, the neuropsychology, the brain, every quarks and leptons of each and every atom, and the neurons and the neural circuits are all firing with the same amount of sodium, potassium and calcium ions in the same way, in the same direction, with the same amount of charge. Everything being the same, don't you think that you would make the same decision? The decision to kill or to steal or to cheat? If you think you would make the same decision, you're tending towards determinism. If you think you won't take the same decision, then you're tending towards indeterminism or randomness. And do you think that you're responsible for a completely inexplicable, random, uncaused or at least uncontrolled event that is not up to you that happened in the universe? It's just a matter of being lucky or unlucky. The rollback argument, as you can see, raises questions about the compatibility of free will with determinism and indeterminism. Now, Van Inwagen focuses more on the indeterminism side of the argument. Let's get to Van Inwagen's original formulation. Quote, let us suppose undetermined free acts occur. Suppose, for example, that in some difficult situation, Alice was faced as a choice between lying and telling the truth, and that she freely chose to tell the truth. Now suppose that immediately after Alice told the truth, God causes the universe to revert to precisely its state 1 minute before Alice told the truth. Let us call the first moment the universe was in this state T1 and the second moment the universe was in this state T2, and then let things go forward again. Now let us suppose that God 1,000 times caused the universe to revert to exactly the state it was in at T1. And let us suppose that we are somehow suitably placed, metaphysically speaking, to observe the whole sequence of replays. What would have happened? What should we expect to observe? Well, again, we can't say that what would have happened, but we can say what would probably have happened. Sometimes Alice would have lied and sometimes she would have told the truth. As the number of replays increases, we observers shall almost certainly observe the ratio of the outcome truth to the outcome lie, settling down to, converging on, some value. Almost certainly, because it is possible that the ratio not converge. Possible, but most unlikely, as the number of replays increases. The probability of no convergence tends to zero. Van Inwagen says, let us imagine the simplest case. You observe that Alice tells the truth in about half the replays and lies in about half the replays. If you have watched 726 replays, we shall be faced with the inescapable impression that what happens in the 727th replay will be due simply to chance. Is there any reason we should resist this impression? Now, obviously, what holds for the 727th replay holds for all of them, including the one that wasn't strictly a replay, the initial sequence of events. But this result concerning the initial replay, the play so to speak, should hold whether or not God bothers to produce any replays. And if he does not, well, that's just the actual situation. Therefore, an undetermined action is simply a matter of chance. If it was undetermined in the one actual case whether Alice lied or told the truth, it was a mere matter of chance whether she lied or told the truth. Let's break this down a little bit. P1. If indeterminism holds, then if God replayed the universe numerous times in the above scenario, it would become increasingly likely as the number of replays increased that the ratio of lies to truths would converge to some definite real number. P2. If the ratio of lies to truths would converge to a definite real number in the above scenario, then Alice is lying in the case at hand and Alice is telling the truth in the case at hand each have a definite objective probability at T1, namely the ratio of lies to total cases and the ratio of truths to total cases. If indeterminism holds, then Alice is lying and Alice is telling the truth each have a definite objective probability at T1. P3. If an act has a definite objective probability at a time, then it cannot be a free act at that time. C2. If indeterminism holds, then whatever Alice does, it won't be a free act. Van Inwagen's reason for thinking that the convergence will occur is clearly the law of large numbers, which says that if you repeat an event with two possible outcomes many times over, the ratio of each outcome to the number of trials will, with increasing likelihood, tend to the objective probability of each outcome. For example, if we flipped a biased coin long enough, the proportion of heads to total flips will almost certainly converge to the coin's bias towards heads. Indeterministically seemingly free actions are a matter of chance. After many thousands of replays, an irregular random distribution of sequence of replays with outcomes emerges and the probability converges to a definite real number ratio. How could anyone be able to determine the outcome of a process whose outcome is a matter of objective ground floor chance? It's the definite real number ratio of objective probability that decides or determines what Alice would do in all replays, not Alice herself. It's not up to her. It's not like Alice decides in all the replays that I have to be consistent with the probability. I chose to lie the last time, I will lie this time as well, but I will tell the truth the next time. But eventually I will maintain the probability, say 0.5. Now there can be a problem with P1. You could say that it's just an assumption to say that the ratio of lies to truths will always converge to a real definite value. It could be that despite indeterminism, for example, Alice lies in the first replay, tells the truth in the next 9 replays, lies in the next 90 replays, and tells the truth in the next 900 replays, and so on and so on. Now here the replay sequence is not converging to a certain value. It keeps on fluctuating from one side to the other. But regardless, the decision is still not up to Alice. She's not deciding the replay sequence. Given the initial conditions are the same, the outcomes of the replays is still up to random chance and they're uncontrolled. Free will is a magical dream for you libertarians, not reality. Thank you for watching this one. Keep sharing these arguments. Like, share and subscribe. And as always, stay tuned and stay curious. I'll see you in the next argument.